watching the Baltimore station that works for you. ABC 2 News. Good Morning Maryland at 9.
Every Tuesday, we take a look at caring for our elders, and if you can find your mom or dad maybe acting a little differently, maybe they're losing weight, not taking their pills, it's time to call this man, Mark Decker from SYNERGY HomeCare. Nice to see you again, Mark.
Thank you, Jamie.
That's the worst, to see signs of maybe mom or dad are slipping, and approach them and say, you know it's going to start fireworks, right? You've done this before, right?
It can, but there's ways that you can kind of keep your eyes open and pay attention to what's going on with your loved ones.
Is there a first signal that you see?
One of the first signals that we'll see is missed appointments, unopened mail, things like that are occurring that would be considered normal activities that your parents are used to doing, but maybe on a visit to the house or something like that, you're noticing that things just aren't quite the same as they used to be.
But can you get by the excuses that they come up with? Oh, I just didn't bother opening that stuff. Oh, yeah, I'm getting older. I forget things.
You can, yeah, and that's very true. And a lot of times when you're having that conversation with people, they'll say that, well, I just forgot this or I just forgot that. And that's okay, because some of that's normal. But if it continues to persist, then it's something that needs to be at least looked at a little bit further.
Then how do you move in? How do you take charge?
Well, one of the things is, again, you're gonna look for these. You're gonna look for those types of signs. Is the newspaper being laid out in front of the house all the time? Has there been some damage to the car that's unexplainable? Bills and things like that, or maybe people are calling saying, hey, I haven't seen your mom or dad the last couple of days. Is everything okay? All kinds of different things. Maybe they're not taking their medicine the way that they're supposed to be.
Mark, it's a tug of war. You come in there, you say, hey, things have got to change here. We got an army moving in, and they're like, whoa, 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 hold on there a second. So how do you do it delicately?
It's very, well, in that respect, the thing to do is to be proactive, and that is when you start to see these signs, again, like you had mentioned before, you're not going to say, hey, look, I think you guys are slipping, it's time to get somebody in here, but you want to have a conversation with your parents, you want to have a conversation possibly with your parents' physician, and even maybe their attorney to say, what are the steps that we need to take in order to prepare to bring someone into the house. And you don't want to wait until you've gotten into like a crisis situation.
And the number one option that many do when they see mom or dad slipping is to bring them into their house. But you're saying there are other options out there as well.
Absolutely. As long as your parents are medically able to maintain their own environment, that is always the best case. What we want to do is be able to keep them in their homes and keep them safe. That is the biggest thing.
You know what, I'm going to put you on the spot because we want to connect with the audience. Mm-hmm. And the reason you started this company is because you went through it.
Correct. I had a family member that we reached out to, needed some additional help, and started on a daily basis just coming by, checking in. It led to assisting with the doctor's appointments, doing some grocery shopping and some errands. And as I did that, I just saw there was a huge need for that. There are so many people out there that can truly benefit from these types of in-home services. But the biggest thing is, how do I access them? When do I really make the decision? Do I really want to wait until that person has fallen and broken a hip and made them, disabled or immobile, or do I want to take some steps ahead of time to make sure that that person doesn't fall in the first place?
Here's a man who went through it, and guess what? We're learning from him. Mark Decker, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jamie.
Guess what? Now we have to do the paperwork. With that, here's Megan Pringle.
Yeah, that's really tough stuff, Jamie. The tough questions you have to ask. It's the kind of thing that nobody wants to think about, and that's why we brought in Jay. Jay Merwin is from a local law firm, and you're here to tell us what we need to know.
Yes, I think the thing that you really need to ask your elderly relatives is three things. Do you have a will? Do you have a general power of attorney that appoints someone as attorney in fact to act in your stead and handle your business matters when you're no longer able to do so? And have you prepared an advanced medical directive that lays out the kind of extraordinary measures you may want to have administered or not in dire situations, and appointing someone who can make those decisions in your stead when you're no longer able to do so?
So what do you hear from people when they don't take care of this, when it is too late?
If you don't have a will, the state of Maryland actually has one drawn up for you. It provides essentially that the surviving spouse and children get your assets. It also provides a hierarchy of people who would be appointed to manage the estate. But for most people, they have someone in mind who they want to manage their estate. They have some ideas for specific gifts they want to make. They may need to do some tax planning, and the statute doesn't address that.
I think this is probably one of those situations where it's much easier for us to plan what's going to happen to us, how, you know, I can put my will together on my own. But what if you need to actually push your parents to, you need to make these decisions? That's a little bit harder.
Right. Well, not just with the will, but with the power of attorney and, and the advanced medical directives. Again, with those other two things, the law provides that if someone can't manage their own property, then you can go to court and have a guardian appointed. That could be a fairly drawn-out hearing with a decision that the person is no longer competent, and then perhaps a dispute among family members as to who ought to be making those decisions, who ought to be the guardian. And if we're talking about the medical situation, again, that can lead to going to court and relatives quarreling over that.
Now, I was chatting with somebody who works here, and he said every time my dad leaves town, he puts everything together. He tells me where everything is. Is that the right way to do it? Because it's sort of a morose way to think, but is that how we need to start thinking?
I think so, but it also honors the person's life, that the life has had significance, and a great legacy that someone can leave behind, regardless of the size of the estate, is an estate that everyone knows how it's supposed to work, and that avoids disputes among family members, so that everyone knows their particular roles in managing the estate.
Now, let's say you have an elderly parent, and this is not something that you want to bring up, you don't want to talk about, you know that they haven't made those plans or at least put them in writing. How would you recommend that someone approach this?
I think you would basically offer them the choice. Who do you want to make the decisions about who's going to run your estate, where your assets are going to go, or before you die, who's going to manage your affairs when you're no longer able to do so? Who's going to make medical decisions when you're no longer able to do so? Do you want a court to do it? Do you want quarreling relatives to do it? Or would you like to do it?
Best, do you think, to always contact an attorney and sort of sort this all out, or is this something that can kind of be done on your own?
Well, at least the estate planning and the wills, certainly it's a good idea to work with a lawyer on that to see what the options are, and also if there's any tax planning that needs to be done to avoid or reduce the estate tax burden, yes.
All right, well, Jay, thank you so much for coming in. It's hard stuff, and nobody likes to think about it, so it's good to have expert advice, sort of give your opinion. So thank you.
Thank you.